Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another live episode of the Format Podcast. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, appreciate you joining. Got a pretty interesting episode here today. Going to talk about some pretty interesting topics, mostly NBA, and then we're going to get to a little NFL at the end. Going to hit on this Michael Jordan couldn't go left, and we done with the 80s nonsense. Definitely going to talk about that. Going to talk about Kevin Durant passing Shaquille O'Neal on the all-time scoring list and where that has his legacy. I'm going to talk about this new Mind the Game podcast with LeBron James and man, what's my man's name? Dang, I totally forgot. But the Mind the Game podcast that LeBron James has with JJ Redick. There we go. And of course, we're going to talk about Caleb Williams and the fact that he's almost certainly the number one overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. But before we get to all that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. And joining me here today, of course, is my main man, G. He's back to discuss all things NBA and NFL. So we're going to have a good time with that tonight. What's going on, G?
Bruce, how's it going, man?
Maintaining, brother, maintaining as always, man. Glad to have you back. And we're gonna talk some sports like we do.
Absolutely.
All right. So the first, I guess, is a mini topic. Definitely wanted to hit on is I'm watching what Kyrie Irving is doing, right? And it was a big deal this past week that crazy left-handed hook shot he hit over Jokic to win that game, Dallas versus Denver. And it was wild, right? And I think people are looking at it and they're saying, well, we know that Kyrie has crazy layup package. He can do a lot of amazing things on the floor. But the reason specifically to me why that shot was wild and why what he's doing over the last 3-4 games is because right now he is celebrating the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. And shouts to all my Muslim brothers and sisters throughout the world celebrating the holy month of Ramadan. And if you don't know anything about it, it's a month of spirituality, prayer, and fasting where a Muslim doesn't eat or drink between sunrise to sunset for about 30 days. So Kyrie Irving is currently fasting for that. And it's interesting because when you do that fast, it's something that can really be difficult on you in terms of your body. Obviously, you're not fueling it the same way that you would on a normal day. And so going out there, expending all that energy, sweating and all that, not being able to eat until sundown, not being able to get hydration until sundown, it's an amazing thing. And he's actually, his points per game are up by about 3 so far this month. His assists per game are up by about 3 so far this month. So he's really, it's almost like he's more focused and his spiritual connection with the Almighty is allowing him to play at an even higher level. And it makes me think back to another guy. And if you watch the show, you know this, my favorite player of all time, Hakeem Olajuwon. And in February of 1995, he was fasting for the holy month of Ramadan as well. And he actually earned NBA Player of the Month during that month that's crazy to think about that, right? And he's had months where he had to fast during the playoffs and everything. And it just, took him to a whole nother level. So again, to all the Muslims throughout the world how and celebrating the holy month of Ramadan, hey, all the love out to you. G, you ever had to play a game not being able to eat or drink or anything like that? How you think that would go?
Nah, I don't think that would be in my best interest not to eat.
Right.
And so, yeah, I definitely take my hat off to everyone that's fasting right now and performing at a high level like Kyrie is doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
Yeah, I believe Nurkic, Mo Bamba. There's a number of players in the league who who are Islamic and fasting and still going out there and getting it done. So yeah, definitely hats off to them. All right. So, first topic we're going to get into, G, and I think this is a cool one, and I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on this because you and I are roughly about the same age. And so, as we know, this whole Michael Jordan thing has been, guys been butting heads back and forth over this for years now. The mainstream sports media is really pushing this. LeBron could be the GOAT, or LeBron is the second best player of all time narrative. Cool. But this isn't about that. Kind of what really gets me is with this whole thing is that the LeBron fans and the LeBron media, their biggest move is to denigrate Michael Jordan and to denigrate his competition and his era. And so with that, we have this whole movement of we're done with the 90s. You heard about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so
nonsense.
Crazy, right? So that's a whole social media movement, hashtag we done with the 90s. So I want to get your thoughts on that, and then we'll show some interesting graphics and we'll talk about it a little bit. Obviously, like I said, you and me, we came up in the same era, kind of learned basketball in a similar way, and had similar basketball influences. But what are your thoughts on this whole we're done with the 90s?
I think it's just a fad. People are, I mean, we don't really, okay, let me take a step back. So I believe that a lot of the folks that's jumping on this bandwagon of we done with the 90s
Mm-hmm.
didn't really watch sports or basketball, play basketball
Mm-hmm.
when the, Grant Hill drink Sprite or the I want to be like Mike commercials
Right.
was on, and or just being able to watch the game with your folks, at parties and such, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what the 90s was really like, right? Because the rules has definitely changed. Uh, there's no longer I mean, with the hand check, to be able to do what Mike was doing, and like, granted, he was one of the reasons why the hand check was changed, but
Yes.
at the same time, it was you was allowed to do that then, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's just interesting to see how people can say, oh yeah, the game wasn't the game back then,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Role players are always going to be role players. You're always going to have, well, you didn't always have free agency, but you do now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some differences that change the game, but ultimately, uh, besides athleticism, and that's debatable, right? There hasn't been that much of a change from the '90s basketball now, besides the
Mm-hmm.
rules and I'll say the softness, the
Right.
lack of physicality of the
Mm-hmm.
sport. I'll say that.
So it's so interesting that you mentioned, and I wasn't actually going to go here, but it's interesting that they talk about the athleticism, because one of the things that the fans of the newer NBA and the modern NBA, I'll say, love to tout is saying that, in the 90s and whatnot, it was full of plumbers and they didn't have athletes and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, okay, cool. So here's one of my things about that, right? When it comes to it, I say, you look at a guy like a Sean Kemp, a Dominique Wilkins. The best athletes from back then would be just as good as the best athletes now. Like, I don't understand why we push this whole narrative that the athletes are so much better, bigger, faster, and stronger. Like, that's crazy. So let's look at it this way, right? If you learned science, right? Remember science in school, and they talked about evolution and dinosaurs and animals and all that, right? How long did evolution normally take? Thousands of years, if not forced by an external source, right? So we got a situation where back then evolution took thousands of years, and now we're saying evolution is jumping that fast today, that it's happening in 10 years, 5 years, 20 years. Like, that doesn't make sense. Now, if you tell me, okay, and this is the same thing I say all the time, athletes today, they have greater greater sports science and greater nutrition and greater technology. Yes, exactly, Mark. They have all these things that they can utilize, right? That's cool, but that doesn't make them better athletes. That means that they're taking advantage of the opportunities available to them. It's like I had a video about Rick Barry that a lot of people like. Check that out on the channel if you want to. And Rick Barry is basically saying, if we had everything that they have now, imagine the type of ball player I would be in conjunction with my knowledge of how to play the game, right? So I say it to say, the athletes are not better just by virtue of being born 30 or 40 years later. That's not it. They just have more things that they can utilize. So anyway, this whole we're done with the 90s thing is total nonsense because, again, the best athletes back then who don't even have what they have now, and I talk about it all the time, Karl Malone, how many years did he play all 82 games? John Stockton, a guy who is a plumber who they're going to tell you couldn't play today, played 82 plus games 17 times in 19 years in a way more physical league. You can't tell me today's athletes are so much better and they can't even stay on the floor, right? Thoughts? G, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. One of the things that we are seeing is those 7'2" guards that's changing the game, right? Don't really have to jump off the ground to put the ball in the bucket, and that's changing the way we view the game now. Like, I don't know how these coaches are going to defend for someone that, with damn near 9 foot wingspan and he's 7'4", right? Like that's going to be crazy. But I still think Karl Malone will get it done in the paint.
Absolutely.
All the bigs will get it done in the paint. However, there's not a lot of buckets inside of the paint going on right now.
Right.
Unless you ant and you flying over folks.
Yeah. Facts. Yeah. So okay. So one of the things that we hear constantly with this whole what is this? And by the way, if you checked in, please make sure you give us that like. We really appreciate it. It helps us out. So make sure you like the show and the channel. But anyway, one of the things that we hear is this nonsense about Michael Jordan couldn't go left. Okay, which is absolutely absurd. And of course, you have pro LeBron content creators. They are cherry picking a bunch of highlights with Michael Jordan maybe trying to drive left and turning the ball over, or Michael Jordan trying to drive left and not being able to make the shots. And so here's the thing. First, let's look at it this way. One, when it comes to Michael Jordan, 3 of his most iconic game-winning shots, people don't realize they were driving left. Okay, so there's that. Game 1 against Utah in 98, Game 6 against Utah in 98. The shot against Cleveland was at 1989, I believe, 89, over Craig Elo. All those were driving left, and he pulls up, right? So I suppose being a right-handed shooter, he was supposed to pull up driving left and shoot it left-handed. I don't know. I forgot. Remember the switch hands in the air in the 91 finals against Magic Johnson? Yeah, he switched hands and finished that with his left. So, I mean, we got to stop this Michael Jordan couldn't go left foolishness, right? So what we're going to do here, is I'm actually going to share some information that my man G sent me during the week. So I'm going to share some information here. Check it out. So first, we're going to see some information here that shows us Michael Jordan went to his left more than he actually went to his right. His field goal percentage was almost identical, but I got some more. Check this out.
For some context, throughout this 3-year span, Michael made on average 4.4 left-handed isolation moves, or in this case, isolation possessions, that resulted in 1.31 points per possession. Now, here are some prolific scorers from this season and their overall tendencies and efficiency in isolation. Keep in mind, this data includes both right-handed and left-handed moves from these players. And now here is Michael Jordan with just his left hand. So, I'd say contrary to what has now become popular belief, Michael Jordan had a left hand. And I cannot believe we had to dig into the data to come to this conclusion.
So this nonsense that Michael Jordan couldn't go left is absolutely absurd. And the reason, unfortunately, that we had to dig into the data to come to this conclusion is very simply due to the fact that most of the people who are pushing this narrative didn't see Michael Jordan play. And this is the thing that you talked about earlier, G. A lot of people that's kicking this stuff, they didn't see it like we saw it. And it's cool if you're younger, and it's the same thing I say all the time. If you're younger and you didn't see it, that's cool. Don't speak definitively on what you don't know. Like when people hit me and they tell me, if Wilt played today, I say, you know what? I respect your opinion. You saw Wilt play. I didn't see it, so I can't speak to that. I can speak to what I saw until now. I can speak a little bit on what I've done some research on, but I didn't see Wilt, so I'm not even going to argue that. And I think that's one of the biggest things right there. But the point is, this whole we done with the 90s and the 90s was so terrible and Michael Jordan couldn't go left. It's a lie. It's a lie, plain and simple. So, I mean, we can go through all that, but you got anything to add before you open these phone lines up, G?
Nah, we should open these phone lines up.
All right, let's do that. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and put the number up. All right, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna open the phone lines up. If you want to go ahead and call in, I know Jakari waiting to give me a shout, so that's gonna be 904-219-8264. Go ahead, let's call in and let's see what you got to say. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead from here, and we're gonna move on to the next topic. If you want to call in, again, that's 904-219-8264. Go ahead and we'll stop where we are on the next topic. We'll go ahead and address your call, and then we'll go from there. All right, so the next one, and this was real interesting to me. I actually did a show about it earlier during the week, was LeBron James and JJ Redick started a new podcast together. It's called Mind the Game. And I definitely wanted to make sure, look, y'all know I'm not a LeBron James fan. I don't got a front on that, right? But I wanted to make sure that what I did was listen to the podcast so that I would have a fair reference point when I'm addressing it. I have no issue with doing that. And also, I know JJ Redick is a pretty sharp guy when it comes to X's and O's. So I figured, hey, I could learn something. I never played ball on a high level. So I'm interested in hearing what JJ and LeBron have to say in terms of X's and O's, because how they marketed the show was that it was going to be a pure basketball podcast. And it started off at the beginning, and JJ was kind of going over some of the terminology for different play calls and sets that some NBA teams use. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. I can learn something from this. That's what's up. And then LeBron came in, and LeBron James does what LeBron James does. So before I go ahead and play some clips from that, you saw the show, correct?
Yep.
All right. What were your feelings on it? What did you think about it?
I thought he talked to his fan base. Yep, he spoke to his fan base, and he was building his brand for the exit. Right. He kept it open for, those debatable subjects and topics.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much keeping the people talking. That was pretty much it. I didn't really get a whole lot out of it because, I'm a huge basketball fan myself. So it was entertaining. It was, but it was still kind of a little dry. So the teacher's own, right?
Right.
But that was my views on it.
Well, I think, the difference where you and I would be on that is obviously, you've been in the college basketball environment. So you've played at that level. So you're more familiar with that verbiage and some of these play calls and the sets and stuff like that than I would be, just having played pickup with different people, different places, all over the place. But obviously nobody's calling out plays, right? in the pickup game. It's just, you lucky if you get a screen or a pick in the pickup game, right? Just clear out, and whoever nice is going to try to take it one-on-one. But I totally get it. But like I said, when it first started and JJ was doing his thing, I was like, okay, this could be cool. But let me go ahead and I'm going to play the first clip I have from LeBron. And this clip I like to call LeBron tooting his own horn. This is a little longer. Check this out. We'll be back to discuss it.
Are you born with basketball IQ? Or are you taught the game the right way and now the basketball IQ clicks on? Like, I was literally just, when you was explaining that, because I come from, I believe, great coaching. From my Little League coach, Frank Walker, senior, to my, at the time, AAU coach, Coach Drew Joyce, to my high school coach, who was a former college coach, Coach Danbrot, and then my AAU coach took over when Coach Danbrot went back to college basketball. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I was taught the game the right way. But the one thing that those coaches always told me, they told me that I had an uncanny ability to process information faster than anyone they've ever seen. One coach, and this is, I know you're gonna smirk about this. There's guys in the NBA that if you call a play or a coach draw a play to one side of the floor, they can't switch it in their head and do it and say, let's run it to the other side without the coach drawing on the clipboard.
Yeah.
I've never understood that. And I don't know. I never understood that. So if I say we running thumb down angle, we're running on the right side. So because I have a left-hand point guard, he wants to come middle to a strong hand. He has the ability to hit the pocket pass with the left hand, has the ability to throw ahead, he's lefty, and also has the ability to throw back on the shake. But if I say, hey, we run a thumb down angle on the left side because now the right-hand guard coming right, I've had teammates that's like, oh, what do you mean? Coaches always, in practice, we only ran it from this side.
Yeah.
I could flip a play when I was 8 years old. No matter if it was just pass and cut, no matter if it was, let's run flex, but let's start on the left side. No matter if it was just, let's DHO, driving kick. The last one, all right, now let's just drive the baseline, drive, drift. If the forward on the left side is looking at the ball, you can slot cut. I could do that. I was doing that stuff when I was like 8, 9 years old, and my coaches would just be blown away, and I wouldn't know where it came from. I have no idea. So to get back to your question, I think I was born with a sports IQ, and it could have been any sport, but I just think basketball was the one that I chose, and maybe I was chosen to do that as well.
Okay, G. So I'm gonna start with you on that, man. What are your thoughts on LeBron's comments there? I know it was a lot, but where are you on that?
LeBron, he kind of backed up. What we saying now is him giving you context on how and why he's the greatest player of this era, right? Of his era, I should say. And it's entertaining. It really is. It's truly entertaining to kind of hear. Right. Yeah, I know he wasn't. But at the same time, man, like you don't just wake up. He's not the average player, right?
No, he's not.
He's not the average player, and he's the best player in his era. 40,000 points, multiple champ. No. Kobe's the best player in his era. He has put up the most statistics in his era. He's not the best player in his era, but go ahead. Kobe's not around right now, so this is currently his era.
Okay. Touche.
Yeah, this is the end of his show. This is the end of, this is his final walk, bro. So
all right, that's fair.
That's how I see it.
No, that's fair.
He's definitely doing his thing right now, and I think this should be, his kumbaya or his so long, or what is the term they coin it? So long, farewell tour. Farewell tour.
Yeah.
It should be his farewell tour, but it may not be. But yeah, I it's good to hear context on why he believes he's the greatest player of his era, or of all time. And I think that's what that show was about. It was about saying, hey, this is why I'm the best player to ever play the game, because I can flip plays and I'm better than you.
You know what? So that's fair. I really don't have a problem with that, right? Except for the fact that you told us that the show was going to be pure basketball. So we tuned in thinking we was going to get something else. Well, not me, because I before that show even came out, I actually did another show previously talking about how I thought that it was just going to be another arm of the LeBron propaganda move, right? And turns out I was right. So let's look at it this way, right? So there's people who can't do what I can do, right? Not everybody can go watch a game and then write up a game story on a deadline, go to the post-game press conference, get the questions, get the quotes, and get that story in, right, for deadline. A lot of people can't do that. I have a chief, I have a friend who was a chief warrant officer in the Army, Signalair, and he's certified ethical hacker, and he can do this and he can do that. I can't do that. I'm not capable. I don't have those things, right?
Right.
I can't be a compliance analyst for a financial institution. I can't do that. I can't dunk a basketball. I can't do that. I'm saying all these things that I can't do and things that I can do that other people can't do because a guy who's supposed to be as smart as LeBron should be able to realize everybody can't do what everybody can do. That's just not how the world is made. That's not how people are made. So even if you're within the same industry, I still may not be able to do the same things as you. So you getting on this show here specifically for the point of, as I said earlier, tooting your own horn, that's crazy to me. You're out here throwing your former teammates under the bus. Thank goodness he didn't say their names. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, but thank goodness he didn't say their names. He's throwing his teammates under the bus about what they couldn't do and what other NBA guys couldn't do. And then he's talking about how, I was able to do this at 8 years old. I don't doubt that, right? Because many prodigies can do things at a tremendously young age, right? Beethoven and Mozart, these dudes was writing symphonies before they were teenagers. Outstanding. Totally get it, right? Napoleon Bonaparte, Genghis Khan, two of the greatest military commanders who ever lived. Everybody can't do what they could do. I get it. But you're on here and you see where I'm going with this? Like your whole thing was to get on here and brag and talk, I could do this and I could do that. Well, that's great, LeBron. We know you're great. But if you were as great as you thought you were, you wouldn't need to have to try and tell us all the time. See, this is what gets me. Why doesn't his play talk for him? But he has to tell us all the time. And let's look at it this way. Again, since the argument is LeBron and Michael Jordan, have we ever heard Michael Jordan tell us how great he is? No. Now, he might have told opponents on the floor, right? We never heard Magic tell us how great he is, or Bird, or Kareem, or any of these guys, right? They didn't have to do that. Why does he?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. You'll hear more players that played with Michael Jordan tell you how lethal he is,
right?
Versus him having to get on a soapbox and say, I'm the greatest to ever do it.
That's right. And even if you look at it from a what do you call this? A generational difference. Steph Curry don't tell us, and he's beaten LeBron multiple times in the finals, has he not? But he don't have to get out here and tell us how great he is. He just goes and he does his work and he lets his work do the talking. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But okay, so the next part, again, remember, the whole point of Mind the Game is supposed to be that it's supposed to be pure basketball. They're supposed to be teaching us about basketball. And I know that that's something JJ Redick has been rearing to do, because he actually a couple weeks back got into it with Stephen A on First Take, talking about teaching the game. And this is supposed to be his opportunity to do that. But really, I think it's just a LeBron glaze fest, but that's a different thing. But let's that's what we see. And that was why it was brilliant of LeBron to choose JJ Redick, because he knows there's going to be no pushback on most of what he says. But let's go now to LeBron talking about who he believes are the most influential players in NBA history. And we'll see how interesting it is that somebody we know got left out. Check it out.
I'm the influence since I've been watching the game. The most influence on the game. And obviously we know what Mike did for the game.
Sure.
But Steph and Allen Iverson are the two biggest influential guys in our game since I've been watching and covering it. One, they're 6'3", 6'4", if you want to.
Steph's not 6'4".
If you want to look on the back of a basketball card, you're always a lot taller on the back of the basketball card. Allen Iverson and Steph, they were just so relatable, and kids felt like they could be them. They were guys that was not always counted on. They were small in stature, and they just defined the odds. So you got AI, who's like unbelievable crossover, cornrows, arm sleeve. We wear arm sleeve. Everyone wears an arm sleeve now because of Allen Iverson. Mm-hmm. And he's going in the trenches, laying it up over bigs, whatever the case may be. And now you have Steph, who's shooting over the Empire State Building. It's like those two are the two most influential when you say the game, how they changed the game, and the kids, and like, those are two guys that you just wanted to watch every single night.
Okay, so Pam, thank you for your comment. He did say, obviously, we know what Mike did for the game, but then he immediately follows it up by saying that Steph Curry and Allen Iverson are the two most influential players. Now, one, let me say this. I have never, ever denigrated the amount of influence that Allen Iverson had on not just the game, but basketball culture on the whole. And as we see the way the game is played now, Steph Curry, right? So I'm not going to argue that. We know how influential those guys were, but let's look at it this way. LeBron just told us that Allen Iverson and Steph Curry are two most influential, but let's hear what Allen Iverson, the guy who he said is most influential, has to say about that.
Without his vision, I promise you, there wouldn't be no Hall of Fame Allen Iverson standing at this podium if it wasn't for this guy. He gave me the vision, man. And, you know, you want to be fast like Isaiah, and you want to shoot like Bird, you know, rebound like Barkley, pass like Magic, be dominant like Shaq. But, man, I wanted to be like Mike.
It's that simple. There it is right there. The same guy who is supposed to be the most influential. And don't get me wrong, he was extremely influential. Just told you what it is. He just told you what it is. G, your thoughts?
I think I look at Kobe being left out. I thought Kobe
right.
definitely changed the game, and it could be that they were you know, they played against each other, but right now he's in a Lakers uniform, and so passing the opportunity to big up Kobe, I thought that was a little different. But yeah, man, like everybody get their opinion, right, on who they believe is the most influential player in the game or how the game was changed. So, man, it's subjective.
No doubt. I do believe him. I believe so. This is my thing. I don't know if I've said this. I'm sure I've said this. I believe LeBron is a deeply insecure guy. I really do. The fact that he constantly has to tell us he's the greatest. The fact that he constantly has to avoid, you know, discussion and mention of Kobe. Notice he wasn't at Kobe's statue unveiling. He wasn't at Kobe's funeral. Notice that he tries to avoid, you know, Michael Jordan talk. All these things. I think he's deeply insecure because he knows he's not those guys. And that's fine. He doesn't have to be those guys, but you're telling us that you're the greatest, but you're avoiding that, right? You're ducking the smoke, as they say. Here's the other thing for me.
It could be that killer instinct, that killer instinct that they both shared.
Oh, we already know about that.
Yeah. That's possibly what it could be. They both had that killer instinct, and they never back down, regardless of their size. So maybe that could be one of the things. Yeah.
I think with the Kobe thing, because you've heard a number of players say it, former and current, and I've also said this. I find it super interesting that LeBron has somehow just magically jumped over Kobe in the all-time rankings. And I think part of that is the trouble that he got in Eco, Colorado. And I think that with current social climate, the NBA is probably hesitant to put a guy on that level as much as Kobe ended up becoming revered by players, etc. I think they're careful in how they deal with him in terms of that because they don't want to get attacked by certain members of society based on the fact that he got in trouble, you know, with a sexual assault accusation, Pam Brown, he was definitely at Kobe's funeral. So Stephen A. Smith said he wasn't. So if he was there, I'm speaking after Stephen A. Smith. Maybe you know and I don't. So I don't know for sure. I'm not going to argue it, but that's LeBron cleared Kobe 2016. Okay, you know, we're all entitled to our opinions. That's cool. Yeah, so anyway, so like I was saying, I do believe that LeBron is a deeply insecure dude. That's why he has to push so hard to try and prove this thing to us that most of us know probably isn't true in terms of his standing as being the greatest of all time. By the way, if you just came into the room, I appreciate you being here. Please go ahead and click that like. Make sure you do that for us. Definitely helps us along. Okay, yeah, so yeah, I thought this was just really interesting. And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to watch the next episode. I think it comes out on Tuesday of the Mind the Game pod, because, again, I am looking forward to, hopefully, the opportunity to learn something further about the X's and O's of basketball. And, you know, we'll see if it continues to be a LeBron glazing himself fest, but we'll find out. Okay.
We should open the lines.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, G. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go ahead. We'll open the phone lines up right now. If you want an opportunity to call in, give me your thoughts on that. It's going to be 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Go ahead, give us a call, and we'll talk about that. Can't wait to hear from you. All right, so what we'll do is we will go ahead and we'll move on to the next topic. And if you want to call in, we'll definitely take your call. But next up, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, one of the smoothest offensive players I've ever seen. I think the dude is I think he's special. And what was it? Not last night, the night before, Thursday night, passed Shaquille O'Neal on the all-time scoring list. He's now 8th all-time. And so this starts bringing up interesting questions. Where should we rank Kevin Durant? What should his legacy be? Where should he be? I heard somebody say he's better than Kobe. I heard someone say he's the second best player of all time after LeBron James. Absolute absurdity, if you ask me. But, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I've heard it say that, and this is Isaiah Thomas, the great Isaiah Thomas, the legendary Isaiah Thomas, saying that that Kevin Durant saved the Warriors' legacy when he went there in 2017. So definitely want to get into that a little bit. Okay, give me a second here. Sorry for the hold up. Willie Williams, there's a number for you, 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. We'll take your call, and then we'll go ahead and get into Kevin Durant passing Shaq on the all-time scoring list, and kind of what are your thoughts? While we wait for that call in, G, what are your thoughts on Kevin Durant in terms of passing Shaq on the all-time scoring list? What do you think of when you see this guy? What do you think his legacy should be, etc.?
No doubt KD is a bucket, right? But he would still have some time to go if Shaq didn't blow 5,000 free throws, right? And if he had a three. So comparing those two is good. They both tremendous scorers. KD is definitely a killer, and he's one of my DMV brethren too as well. So come to think about it, like there's a lot of my favorite players. They all from the DMV. Hobson being one, Melo, KD, and so he's going to continue to pass those players on the list for scoring because that's just what he does. He gets it done, and yeah, he's much like the Joker. He can put the ball in the hoop from anywhere. So it's good to watch him play. Two totally different types of buckets, though. I mean, Shaq is all interior, so to me, his points they count a little bit more when you breaking hydros, doing it, and and kicking them under the hydros, tearing it down, and then they develop a hack of Shaq, which stops the game. But the 5,000 free throws probably would have brought him a little bit more time, but he would have eventually surpassed that as well.
So yeah, I think that I think for me, part of that thing is it's interesting when you compare obviously perimeter players. It's interesting to me when you compare perimeter players with like centers and down low guys, because those guys don't get the opportunity, especially when Shaq played, to shoot. They didn't get the opportunity to shoot 3-pointers. And so obviously 3-pointers make a whole lot of difference when you look at those career point totals, and that becomes problematic, I think. And so if I play a career, and not saying that Kevin Durant is not impressive, but if I play a career and I'm shooting from all over, I'm shooting threes and stuff like that, and then you look at me, Shaq, and I'm never shooting them. For instance, it's the same argument with LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think he made 1 3 in his entire career, and half of his career, they didn't even have the 3-point line, right? When did he come in the league? He came into the league in, I believe, 1969. They didn't get the 3-point line until 1979. So the first half of his career, there were no threes. So how can we say, LeBron James is the greatest scorer of all time when he played his entire career with threes, and the guy whose record he just broke didn't have them for half of his career? And so I think it's just kind of a similar thing when you compare Shaq and Kevin Durant. Now, does Kevin Durant have a greater offensive skill set? Of course he does. No one's going to argue that. Like, we saw the clips. That dude is smooth. He can hit you from mid-range. He's deadly from mid-range. He can hit you from three. He can put it on the ground and go right past you. He is a guy who really and truly is he's in love with the craft of being a great basketball player, great offensive player. And there's no doubt about it. But yes, he passed Shaq, and the numbers are the numbers, but is it that much more impressive? I don't know. So that's something that we gotta that we have to take into account. Is he a better player all time than Shaq? No, I don't think so. I don't know too many people who know the game of basketball that if you say, okay, you got Shaq and you got Kevin Durant to start a franchise, prime Shaq, of course, and prime Kevin Durant, which way you going? I don't know too many people who are going to say Kevin Durant, right? I mean, would you? Maybe I'm wrong.
Depends on what era. This era, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But if we talking about dominating the boards, dominating the interior, I'm going with Shaq. Shaq used his shoulders. Kevin Durant doesn't have one. They both 7-footers, if I'm not mistaken. So it's two different types, two different styles of basketball.
Okay, so yeah, it is two different types of basketball. And even in this era, here's the deal, right? Sometimes you got to zig where other people zag, right? So if I have Shaq, he's unstoppable down low. There's nobody in today's game that's Embiid, that's Jokic, that's whoever, that's going to be able to deal with him, correct? Nobody. And he's going to foul out your entire front line, correct?
Yep.
So why wouldn't I take advantage of that and dominate with him? It's very simple. And go ahead.
It depends on what era, right? Like, now, if
I'm talking about right now, I'm talking about today.
Oh, today with Shaq?
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you take 2000 to 2004 Shaq, or even if you put 1993 to 1996 Shaq, and you bring him in today's era, destructive nuclear weapon.
No question.
Nobody can deal with that dude.
No question.
And so I'm totally lost on, this thing of, and again, this is not at all a shot at Shaquille O'Neal. I'm sorry, at Kevin Durant, because I got love for him. I think he's super smooth, and I love the fact that he's super dedicated to his craft. I think that's awesome. But when you get down to it, man, give me Shaq, because there's nothing anyone can do with him. Now, as good as Kevin Durant is, we saw 2 years ago in the playoffs, we saw the Boston Celtics lock him up. Did we not?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And all they were doing was giving him a taste of the defense that he would have got back in the day. And he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it.
But how many games have we seen by free throws? Right? Like you don't see a lot of games in this era end with free throws at the free throw line. You just don't. Like, it just doesn't happen. Matter of fact, they don't even call fouls at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you incorporate Shaq in a close game, and it's just, you'll see. I just think it'll end differently in this era. Now, if you put KD in prime his era, that's a different player.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not, right? Because he has the same attributes as what's my guy from Houston, Tracy McGrady, right? Maybe a better perimeter shooter, but same attributes, same build, and everything. And so he's an offensive tear.
Okay. So let me make a quick interjection here. I see some of you guys are trying to call in. I apologize. It seems something wrong with the line here. I'm gonna have to get that fixed for next week. But I do really appreciate you guys sticking with me and trying to call in. So thanks for that. Somebody said, I don't remember Kobe breaking ankles. Just go check YouTube. Kobe was a problem with the ball handling. He was nasty. Anyway. Well, he was nasty, pretty much everything. But anyway, the point is this, back to Kevin Durant. And again, I want to make this clear again, that I'm not at all trying to take shots at KD, because I do think he's a problem. But let's go to the next part of this. And I talked about this on a different show. And I think, did we talk about this last week, G? Isaiah Thomas saying that Kevin Durant saved the Warriors' legacy. I think we did, right?
Yep.
So what I think is interesting, a lot of people feel that way. What about the flip side of this? Maybe the Warriors saved Kevin Durant's legacy. No one brings that up, right? Because if they don't allow him to come in there, be that nuclear weapon and do what he does, Kevin Durant probably still wouldn't have a championship to this day. And people are going to say, well, you're assuming that he wouldn't have a championship. Yes, I'm assuming that based on the empirical evidence that he's been on, 4 franchises now, and the only one on which he's been able to win a championship was what? The Golden State Warriors. So he's been other places. He's had great teammates. It's not like he's been on bad teams, and he hasn't been able to get it done. So I think that's really interesting. Jakari, I think you're right on that. You're probably the first person of your generation that I heard actually say this. He's saying, Jakari says, if anything, going to the Warriors hurt Kevin Durant's legacy. And I actually believe that. Yes, he's a 2-time champion. He's a 2-time finals MVP. And he got busy. Yeah, exactly. Best comment you ever made, Jakari. He did lose respect from hoopers. I agree with that. Because the fact that, 1, you went to the team that just smoked you, and 2, you go there, you win, and then you say, well, I love this beautiful brand of basketball we're playing. But then it's, I don't want to stay here because this is Steph's team, and I don't think I'll ever get the love that I want here. And then you move on, and since you moved on, you haven't been able to get it done. That's problematic for me, and that's what we call empirical evidence. What's up, TB? Thank you for coming back around. I saw you a couple shows back. Thanks for stopping in. Now, there you go. You got it. Michael Jordan is the most influential player in NBA history, period. No question about that. And if there's any question about that, let's take this interesting factoid into account, right? Let's take this. Michael Jordan still sells more sneakers and hasn't played in 20 years, right? 20 years, G? 20 years. Has not played in 20 years, still sells more sneakers than every other NBA player combined. I mean, come on, man. Come on. It's that simple. It's that simple. So, the influence is there. Also, we see the guy who most people regard as one of the greatest players of all time, Kobe. We see that. I mean, the influence is there. We heard Allen Iverson earlier. I wanted to be dominant like Shaq. I wanted to shoot like Bird. I wanted to pass like Magic, be fast like Isaiah. But man, I want to be like Mike. And quick side note, when we talk about be like Mike, that is one of the most iconic ad campaigns ever. Am I right, G? Or am I just making that up? That Gatorade be like Mike? Now, if you're too young and you don't remember that, go look it up on YouTube. You might even think, that's corny or whatever. But Be Like Mike is one of the most iconic and influential and successful ad campaigns of all time. I'm not just saying that. Shaq, Steph, and AI changed the game just as much. So Shaq is not particularly influential. He was just super dominant, right? You can't say that Shaq was super influential in terms of changing the game because there's never been another player outside of maybe Wilt who could do what he could do or had the physical stature that he had to be able to do it. And when he played against Olajuwon, as great as he was, he got his butt handed to him. So, yeah, not quite. But nice try, though, young fella. If you want to say Steph, I got you. Super influential. If you want to say Allen Iverson, super influential. But if Allen Iverson was influenced by Michael Jordan, then, no. But anyway, yes, that's correct. This is a great point right here. This is a great point. At one point, Michael Jordan was arguably the most popular person on the planet next to Michael Jackson, and that was before the internet. That's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that. G, remember the Dream Team, right?
Yeah.
This is 1992. The reason that the world is now beating the United States consistently in international basketball is because of the Dream Team headlined by Michael Jordan. The reason Isaiah Thomas is still hurt because he's not on that team is because of Michael Jordan. That is power and that is influence. He's that dude. He's clearly the most influential basketball player of all time. Yeah. Exactly.
Speaking of the Dream Team, did you see the starting 5 for the future Olympic team?
No, I haven't. Who is it, G?
So they had Steph at the 1, Tatum at the 2, LeBron at the 3, KD at the 4, and I believe it was Embiid at the 5.
That's interesting that you put KD at the 4.
I mean, it was a little different because then they had what's his name, Holiday. I can't think.
Drew Holiday, yeah.
Drew Holiday at the 6, coming off the bench. So I don't know. I'm sure they're still working it out, and it could have been fake news, but that looks like that's
that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Look at TB. This is a great comment. Everybody is the Michael Jordan of. If you're the greatest at your sport, you're the Michael Jordan of. That's a great point. Patrick Mahomes, Ali, Tiger Woods, yeah, Mayweather, Williams is absolutely great point. Great point.
That's definitely deep.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Oh, here we go, right? There we go. Tom Brady said he was trying to catch Michael Jordan. And Tom Brady is arguably, the greatest ever in his sport. And he said he was trying to catch Michael Jordan. But anyway, so I do think it's interesting that everyone is so quick to say that KD saved the Warriors' legacy. But I actually think it's the reverse because we didn't see that. But anyway, this was a great topic. We are going to go ahead and move on to the final topic of the day. And this one is actually a football topic. We're going to talk a little bit of NFL. I know you're also used to me and G kicking it on the hoop side, but we're going to talk a little bit of NFL because right now we're in the heat of the off season and we're getting towards the NFL draft, and we're seeing a whole bunch of trades and movement, and we're seeing a whole bunch of positioning for the upcoming draft, as we always do. And so I think this is interesting because we're at a point now where it's kind of been established that, Caleb Williams has been seen as the number one prospect overall for pretty much since last year when he won the Heisman Trophy. And the Chicago Bears have it, and there was kind of some hold up, like, are the Bears actually considering keeping Justin Fields? Are they going to trade the pick, load up around him, blah, blah, blah? What are we looking at? But now Justin Fields is out of the way. He's been traded to the Steelers. Caleb Williams is there. So here's my thing, right? If you're a college football fan, I definitely want to hear from you on this because I'm a huge college football fan. I think it's an incredible sport, and it's very interesting. So here's my thing. Caleb Williams has been regarded, as I said, as the top prospect for the last couple of years. We're hearing the talk about he's a generational talent. He's this, that, and the third. Now, I'm not going to be disrespectful to Caleb Williams. I'm not stupid. The guy has incredible talent, ridiculous talent. He can make plays off schedule, which is something that everybody is looking for from modern quarterbacks. He's got elite arm talent, whether in the pocket or on the move. He's very mobile, which again is something that you look for from modern quarterbacks. G and me noticed, especially being Ravens fans and our guys, Lamar Jackson. So Caleb Williams is definitely special. But when they talk about generational, I'm really wondering, why is that? Why do they call Caleb Williams generational? And the reason I ask that is as good as he is he truly what does he do better than another guy who played in college for his former head coach, Lincoln Riley, Kyler Murray? And I'm going to bring up some information here so you can see it. Caleb Williams, he has had incredible numbers. He's very accurate, 67% completions for his career, 10,000 passing yards, career passer rating of 169, right? Incredible numbers. Then you look at Kyler Murray, who now he got to Oklahoma and he had to sit behind Baker Mayfield, another Heisman Trophy winner under Lincoln Riley. But his best season was actually better than Caleb Williams' best season. He's more accurate. He's got a higher career passer rating. He's more mobile. He rushed for 1,000 yards. He rushed for more yards in his Heisman Trophy season than Caleb Williams rushed for in his entire college career. They basically have the same arm talent. They can throw it on the move. They can throw it down the field. Kyler's got a cannon. Caleb has a cannon. So my question would be, and G, feel free to weigh in on this. What is it about Caleb Williams that they love so much that they're saying is generational? What does he do better than Kyler Murray? Furthermore, being a generational talent and supposedly being the best since Andrew Luck.
Like you said before, he's definitely he definitely has the skills to flourish in the NFL. I was reading an article that what's his name? Freaking RG3 wrote about how
Hmm.
it's going to take him 3 to 4 years to develop, right? And then they should hire a coach that's willing to put that time in so he can develop and be that, that generational
Hmm.
talent that they're looking for. What we often see a lot of times is really, really good quarterbacks get drafted to really bad teams,
Hmm.
and it stuns their growth, and and then they become first round busts.
Yeah.
So um, so yeah, I'm interested in seeing what type of um, special, if they play him first year or if they give
Hmm.
him time to rest. Some of the best quarterbacks,
Nah, they're
once they
gonna
get
play
that
him.
year, yeah,
That's why
they're gonna play him.
we had to get
They're gonna
Justin
play him.
Fields about
They're
it.
gonna,
They're gonna play him. Yeah.
yeah. I don't think the Chicago Bears fan base is happy.
I don't think so
I
either.
think, yeah. I think they really, really like Fields, Justin Fields, and to trade him like that, they feel like you see him like, what are y'all doing? Like,
Hmm.
but it's been years and years.
Yeah.
The Bears have been making really bad decisions at the
Hmm.
quarterback position,
Hmm.
and so I don't think this is nothing new. But hey, we just got to wait and see.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think it's interesting again because the Chicago Bears, I believe, are the only NFL franchise that's never had a 4,000-yard passer, like in franchise history. So they have, and that's a big part of why Robert Griffin III, RG3, was hesitant about why he was saying that he believes Caleb should refuse to go to the Bears, i.e. pull an Eli Manning or John Elway and tell him, hey, don't draft me, because they just have a terrible history with developing quarterbacks, drafting and developing quarterbacks. And because their quarterback, Matt Eberflus, has not shown much in terms of developing quarterbacks in his time there. But they got former, I want to say, former Seahawks offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, Rams. Either Rams or Seahawks, pardon me. I should have checked that before the show started. But either former Rams or Seahawks offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. And so they believe that the system that he runs should be friendly to Caleb Williams. And again, nobody's trying to denigrate the talent. I just think it's so interesting how so many of these so-called experts and pundits are so quick to throw the generational label on these guys. And it's like, do you know how good you have to be generational? Like it doesn't make sense to me how quickly they want to throw that. One of the guys I talked to, and former NFL scout with the Jets, his name is Daniel Kelly. And hopefully I'll have him on the show at some point here pretty soon. But he grades all these guys, and believe it or not, he actually put a 4th round grade on Caleb Williams because he sees a lot of issues. And one of the big issues that he sees is they always talk about in the NFL how quickly you need to be able to process and get rid of the football. And this past year in college, his average time to throw was 3.21 seconds. That would have made him second lowest in the NFL, i.e., well, I should say second longest this past season in the NFL. And in the NFL, you just don't have time to hold the ball that long. Secondly, Daniel Kelly, I believe, says that Caleb Williams kind of has nervous feet in the pocket. His mechanics are a little off based on his bad footwork in the pocket. And so these are things you got to be concerned about. Also, a lot of the highlight plays that he was able to pull off in college outside of structure, he's probably not going to be able to do that in the NFL because a lot of guys find out real quick that defenders in the NFL are real fast. It ain't like college, and you're not going to be able to make fools out of these guys. Then you also heard, I don't know if you heard it the other day, his future Bears teammate, providing, of course, the Bears draft him, Jalen Johnson, had some commentary to the effect of, we need to make sure that he ain't coming out here with all this Hollywood stuff. You need to come out here and do the work, and and so I don't know. I mean,
humble yourself. That's what
humble yourself, young fella. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Caleb Williams, I don't know. Again, I can rant and rave like everybody else about his physical gifts and his talent and his ability. To me, the issue is between the ears. Like, I look at this dude and I'm like, one, like, you're a grown man and you're painting your fingernails with, obscenities directed towards the opposing team. Like, that's weird. Like, if you want to direct obscenities at the opposing team, yell at them and curse at them. Do that. It's a football game. That happens all the time. Why are you painting your fingernails with stuff? That's weird. Second, you saw the game. I can't remember who they played against, but after they lost the game, he jumped into the stands and he was in his mom's arms and he put the towel over his face and he was crying. And I'm like, you could look at that two ways. You could look at that and say, you know, he really cares and losing means a lot to him. But I've been watching the NFL probably since the late 80s. I've never seen anybody do that ever. I've never seen a quarterback do that. That looked weird to me. You know, maybe he has a real deep connection with his mom and respect due for that. You know, no problem there.
I stopped watching. I stopped watching them after that.
Yeah, that's just kind of weird, right? And then, you know, you also see when the games aren't going well or he's not playing well, he's kind of off by himself on the sideline and not like, you know, he's not up there bringing the troops together. And what does Stephen A. always say? Galvanizing the troops. He's not that kind of guy. I think there's some leadership issues there. And for me, those are too many red flags at key areas in terms of I want to draft you number one overall, make you the face of my franchise and believe that you're the guy that's going to lead us into the future. Am I wrong there? Or where are you with that?
That's the Bears.
I suppose it is.
They develop a quarterback and then they trade him. So it's kind of weird. I look forward to seeing him, you know, flourish in the Bears offense, right? Like I only wish the best for the young kid. But the NFL is unforgiving and, you know, people playing for bonuses out there.
Yes, they are.
So there's no time. There's no time to cry. You know, you need to strap his helmet up and get out there and play.
Absolutely.
He has some weapons. They now have a pretty solid running game.
Yeah.
And so
they got Keenan Allen for him, DJ Moore. You got Cole Kmet at tight end, and they can probably draft another receiver. I think they got to pick at number 1 and number 9. So they could draft it. And if it's me, I'm saying if he's still there, I'm grabbing Roman Dunze from Washington. I think that dude is a beast at wide receiver. He's actually, even though Marvin Harrison Jr. is widely regarded as the best overall player in the draft, I think Roman Dunze is the best wide receiver in the draft. I could be crazy, but I really believe that based on what I saw. But yeah, they are loading up. And I think Ryan Poles, the GM for the Bears, he's doing everything he can to, if they take Caleb, give him the best position to succeed. But we'll see what he is.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're going to leave it there for the night. For everybody that tuned in, thanks so much. Really appreciate you. I'm going to get that phone situation worked out. I apologize. I couldn't take those calls. I don't know what was going on there. But we'll be back with you next week, 7 p.m. Saturday night. Again, I appreciate you. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out the channel. Got tons of content on there. And we're out. Peace.